Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the AxyToys Dinosaur Battlefield AXY-012B figure. I don't know what his going name is. If I can find it, I will tell you, but they sent this as a review sample. It is their current batch of figures that are coming out, or are already out. There was some kind of issue with the shipping. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I'll give you the information in the title so you can find exactly this figure if you need to. But we'll talk about more of the figures in this wave in just a second. But this is a Triceratops with what looks to me to be semi-Roman design motifs. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's what it is. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before I show you the figure, I will show you my package. This is what it looks like. This is just a little slip thingy, but you can see a Triceratops with a lot of spikes behind it, and that kind of frilly thing. There he is, there holding his crossbow. And there are some other figures right there, which I want to talk about. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with the release schedule and things like that. There's a lot of shipping issues these days. But these are 4 different figures. This is the one I'm reviewing. I happen to think it's the least appealing of them all. It's bright red, and it has this weird thing going on with the top of his, whatever you call it. But this guy's like a heavy, like he's got all kinds of armor and the big shield. This guy's got the more fancy stuff, like he's a general or a commander or something like that. And then this guy is clearly the #1 guy. He's got even more spikes and stuff. These two look freaking awesome, I think. This one looks really cool. This one doesn't do it for me. If I'm being completely honest, I have to be completely honest, but that's subjective. You might think this is the best looking one. But that's that. And then if you slip this off, you do get a window box that displays the figure, and it explains some stuff there for the line. Okay, that's it for the packaging. Good packaging, but we are not packaging people. We are going to look at the figure. And so if you guys remember, the previous ones I've reviewed were like a barbarian motif sort of thing, like they had furs and things like that. Not a lot of fancy armor with frilly stuff, and that's what this is. So it's definitely a little bit of a contrast to the previous releases, and I think that's an interesting direction. Probably a good thing, give you a little bit more variety. So to the top of this part of his head, he's about 7 inches. If you go a little higher, closer to like 7 3/4, give or take. And of course, the ones with the spikes and this part not being all weird it's gonna be even taller. So it's about 17.5, and then let's say 19.5. There he is up against Darwin. So he has some meat to him, some girth. And these have been generally good figures, though there have been a few spots of bother. There have been some areas where they could definitely improve, particularly in the articulation department. If we're talking about paints and sculpt and that kind of stuff, which we will start with now because we can do the aesthetic portion, these guys are nailing it. Like, the armor's nice and shiny. It has kind of a dirtied up look to it, but it's still shiny. It looks good. The sculpt, it's all pitted, and there's lots of nice detail work there. You can see a lot of the, what is that, vines or ivy or whatever that is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But you get a lot of nice detail work. The leathery tassels down here, not tassels, whatever you call those things, those are good. A lot of things I don't know how to describe on this figure. But yeah, there's a lot of nice sculpt and paint work throughout the texture for the skin. We'll see a little bit closer later. But yeah, it's definitely a good looking figure, high quality finish, no problem at all. If you like the aesthetic, you're gonna like the figure. They did not mess up the execution. The little cape, it's not a stretchy material. I don't love the way it connects and has this floof right here, but it looks nice. So they did paint it to look a little bit dirtied up, and that's nice. Looks good from the back. From the front, it's less good looking because you have the seam that's just folded over. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but it is wired, so you can use it. And it's a nice wire, so that's okay. But it's not going to be super useful because it's just hanging from these pins right here. So, you know, it's just kind of there as an accoutrement. It's not like a Batman cape, for instance. But yeah, it's a good looking figure. So aesthetically speaking, it's really nice. I will give it a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's not a whole lot wrong with it. There will be when we get to other portions of the review, but for right now, it's really good looking. Now, as far as accessories go, all the gear on him can come off. So you get all of this kind of stuff. You get a couple other plates, so like there'll be a photo so you can see everything. You get 2 straps. Those are to hold his quiver, which comes with a bunch of arrows that are individually made, so that's nice. You get another strap, one of the 2 straps for his sword also, which is very nicely done with the scabbard and the sword. Both are great. And of course, to use the arrows, you get the crossbow, it has the hinge for the metal part, and that's nice. And it is stretchy, but it's like you're not meant to use it, but it is really well put together, so that's pretty cool. And then lastly, you get a decent spread of hands just to do what you need to do. Nothing crazy, but yeah, that's pretty good. If you count all the armor and stuff in the accessories, then I don't know, 10 out of 10. Like, you get a ton of stuff. If you don't count the armor, which you could or couldn't, that's up to you, it's still going to be like an 8 or a 9. There's a lot of stuff in the box, and you get to rearrange the armor however you want. You don't need the shoulder pads. You don't need these little details, these greebles where they are. You can move them around. You can add this extra shield over here, or you can just put another one of these on there. Like, you can do a bunch of different things. Or you can take this arm off completely, make him asymmetrical. That's not the arm, the armor for the arm. You can do all kinds of different things, so that's a pretty cool feature, and I would count that as part of the accessories. So yeah, I would say 10 out of 10. That's very nice. Now, with the armor on, he's going to be more encumbered, so I'm going to take the armor off to do the articulation portion of this review. Alrighty, so we've got all of his gear off and we can do his articulation properly. Honestly, the gear doesn't get in the way that much other than around here, because some of these joints don't work that well, but let's go ahead and get at it. I guess I can show you first because I didn't get to show you this too much. That's what his face looks like. Again, the sculpt and paintwork are really nice. The eyes are very well done. The teeth have a different finish to them, and they're kind of glossy to make them look more like teeth. It does not articulate, or if it does, mine's completely stuck. It looks to me like it doesn't, though. So just be aware of that. But yeah, very nicely done for the paint and sculpt. But let's talk about the articulation. And I have to say, seeing that, I thought we were going to get a ton of range, but you don't. Unfortunately, look how far in that ball is. You can't even see it. It's so far in there, so you get almost no range. Like, it's, obviously there's some, but practically speaking, almost none. And there's no good reason for that. You need the ball to be right here. Like a big ball right here at the top of the neck, not a smaller ball all the way down in there. Like, it's down like a good inch. It's in there pretty good. So that's really unfortunate. And then as you can see here, if you guys have been watching my reviews, you know that that ball is very small, so it's gonna be hard to get a lot of range. And it moves around on it, but like, that ball is not really the problem. They did a decent enough job with that. But having that other ball in there so deep, you're way more limited than you otherwise needed to be. It's not the worst articulation I've ever seen, but it does make the head stick up pretty high, and you can't really adjust it. So like, you can see he's got kind of a squat build, and that's good, but I would expect his head to come out much lower, from his neck, I mean. So like, I'd like to be able to move this down probably at least half an inch. Like, it looks weird to me that his neck is that long. And then having that articulation that doesn't let us move his head down any farther is very strange. Now, you could, if you were going to buy this, these come off so you can put his helmet on, by the way. If you were going to buy this, you could definitely free up some space. If you really wanted to, you could definitely cut this out so that this comes down farther, and then that'll give you some extra options, but that's totally your call. So yeah, the head, it moves, but it's a strange setup that doesn't work as well as it should, and it does give him kind of a weird lankiness to the neck. Now for the shoulders, we have a ball peg that lets the shoulder move around. These caps don't serve much purpose, and there's not a ton of range, but it is in there. I think these guys need to just refine their articulation a little bit. Shoulder joint works fine, so that's okay. Because we've seen a few of these problems before, and I'm hoping they get them addressed. Bicep swivel is in there. It's a double jointed elbow, but one of the joints is all the way in the top. Like, you can't use it really. It moves just basically none. And then the other joint is down here. So you get about 90 degrees, but you end up with a pretty... I mean, it's not the worst looking thing, but it's a pretty ugly elbow, and it's way over designed for only getting 90 degrees. And I guess it looks pretty good from the front if you're just going by that, but it's not super functional. Now the wrists are on ball hinges and they're fine. It's also worth noting, when you take him all apart, you'll see this is a floating piece. Most of the pieces are floating pieces held together by the joints that all connect to each other, which doesn't really matter. It's just be aware when you take him apart, his arms are coming off. Like this part here, the lower leg's coming off, things like that. All right, now for the torso, I also have to mention, I really do like the sculpt for his abdomen and torso. That's very nicely done. It gives a really good, natural, organic look to him. The abs are sculpted well, the serratus muscles, even the pecs. It's a nice looking figure for sure. But they did a good job with this joint. He gets a lot of range out of that upper torso joint. That's what I would expect to see. That's really, really nice. Same thing with the bottom. Not as much maybe, but that's mostly because of his tail, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, he moves around pretty nicely. He's got that really squatty build, so he almost looks like E Honda. He's got the fat abs, but it works. So his torso is very nice. I like that. The tail, I still don't know why they're doing this hinge joint. It's a very strange thing. I don't see the benefit. Plus, it happens pretty far inside, so the range is limited. And the sculpt is beautiful. It connects almost seamlessly. But then they have this joint, which is just ugly and serves little purpose, so that's strange. Now, the tail is a very soft material, and it's bendy. Even though it does come with a sculpt to it, you can still bend it, at least some. And it works pretty well. So that's nice. I definitely am not for this hinge joint in here though, especially since it gets in the way of this piece up here. So that's a strange thing. If I was them, I would just connect the tails and leave them. Make them bendy if you want, but I don't see the benefit of being able to raise it up an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch or whatever it is, 3/16. Okay, for the hips, it's reminiscent of NECA, unfortunately, but in a good way, because they work okay. It's that's why I say it's reminiscent of NECA. They connect like that. I guess it's not really NECA. It's more like SH Figure Arts. It's probably a ball peg. They're not connected to each other. So I take back what I said. It's not NECA. But you do get full-on splits, so that's good. And then you can bring the leg up. This is a soft crotch piece to horizontal. That's fine. Bringing it back, you get some squish on the cheek, but the tail is in the way, so not a ton. You get your thigh swivel there. That's fine. Double jointed knee. A little bit loose. Not too bad, though. Decent range there. And then for the ankles, you get your range. So that's fine. You get your ankle rocker on there. It's not bad. Yeah, it's not a bad setup. The worst thing, I'd say the shoulders don't work that great, but they're not bad. Elbows are just limited for no real reason. Like, that's 90 degrees is okay, but also once you put his armor on, you're not getting 90 degrees. So maybe that's what they were thinking. I don't know. But the neck is the worst part, if you ask me. Like, there's no reason for the neck to be like that. Luckily, you can modify it fairly easily. You cut more out of that neck, you can bring it down farther, and that's going to make him look good. But yeah, there's a lot of neck there, and a lot of peg, and not a lot of useful range. So I don't know, it's questionable. I'll give his articulation a, I'll say 7. It mostly works, like the abdomen and torso, that's pretty nice. The hips are good. Yeah, there's a lot that works really well, and I think it's a good sculpt. Like, the articulation hasn't made it look hideous or anything like that. But I think the articulation could definitely be improved in a few spots, particularly the elbows and the neck. The rest is decent, for sure. So, time for the final verdict on this guy. I'll say it's probably mostly what I've said on their previous releases. Accessory-wise and armor and everything, that's awesome. That's their main theme. That's their thing they've got going on. That's really good. They've done a really good job there. They've done a really good job with the sculpt. I love the musculature on these guys. They do a good job with that. Paintwork is really clean. That's nice. It just comes down to that articulation that they're still just not quite refining it enough. It's overly complex in a few places and doesn't quite work as well as I'd like in a few others. But it's still a solid release. If you're into dinosaurs wearing Roman-ish armor and standing upright, then hey, this is definitely your thing. It's definitely a personal thing. If you're into this, it's definitely a good enough figure. If you're not into this, it's probably not the type of thing to pick up that'll win you over, if I'm guessing. But you'll know if you're into it. If you're not into it, like, why are you trying to get into new things? I guess that's fine. Be adventurous. But I don't know. Maybe not with this one. It's hard to say. It's a very niche thing, and I guess they found their audience, so that's good. It's just going to come down to that. I think their core audience is definitely going to be okay with this. But things like these elbows being the way they are and the neck not working well, that will push away newer people, if I'm guessing. All right, so I'm going to give it a final verdict of 8 out of 10, unless the articulation is really important to you, then 7. But I'd go with 8 for what they're aiming for. It's a really nice figure with a lot of really nice features. Just those few things holding it back. So if you guys have feedback for them about how you feel about these things, I'm guessing they're going to see the comment section on the video, and you can leave it down there. Otherwise, that's it for me. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.